What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Living Electric. We're going to start with our favorite new segment on the show, Living the Electric Life, where we talk about something we've done in the past week or so that is living the electric life in some way. So, Brandon, you said you got a good one. So, do you want to
Yeah,
start?
that was a very radio channel way of starting this episode.
Doing my best here.
Yeah, was waiting for jazz music to start playing or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So surprisingly, a few weeks ago, with the Tesla Cybertruck deliveries, they announced that the vehicle has power share capabilities. And I stumbled upon Tesla's website looking at the universal wall connector that we just got installed a few weeks ago, and it now suddenly said that it was capable of power sharing, with the right
Right.
setup, with, obviously with just the Cybertruck at the moment. And, I posted about it because I'm like, oh, well, let's hope that mine, like the one that we just bought has it. And I
Right.
couldn't get a straight answer from anybody. People on Twitter were doubting me. They're like, yours doesn't have the label. It doesn't function.
Yeah.
Well, I finally heard back from Tesla, and ours does have power sharing.
Is that right?
Um,
Wow.
yes. So I finally got confirmation that ours does have power sharing.
That's awesome.
They said that any product that gets a slight revision should still have the same functionality when
Okay.
it was delivered. So the fact that it was delivered within a 4-week difference of them
Yeah.
announcing that feature, ours has that. So
Gotcha.
one of the team leads from Tesla actually emailed me directly to confirm that.
Wow.
Um,
That's really cool.
so
That's great news.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, it is good news.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited. So if any Twitter follower who's listening that doubted that post, it's true.
It's confirmed now. Did you
It's
update your
confirmed.
tweet to say
No,
this is confirmed?
no, I haven't been on
Oh.
Twitter at all today. I actually haven't even shared last week's episode yet. So
Oh my gosh.
I
Slacking.
know I'm failing. Yeah, I'm a bad co-host. So I'll get to it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to hear,
Yeah.
though. I am guessing that also justifies the big price difference between the two, because isn't there a couple $100 difference between
Yeah.
the universal and regular?
No, it's only $100.
Only $100? Okay. I
Yeah.
misunderstood then. Well, anyway, that's exciting.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what makes the universal wall connector so enticing over just the wall connector, is the
Right.
fact that it has that capability on top of being able to charge essentially any vehicle,
Yeah.
even though a lot of people online are actually saying it won't charge their vehicles. So that's an issue that people are running into with that specific charger. So just be mindful. You might, if
Yeah.
someone listening buys one and it doesn't work, it could be an issue. But
Yeah.
yeah. But we've been so lucky that ours has been working pretty flawlessly so far.
That's good.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's exciting.
So there's my living electric moment that I've been slacking the last few weeks.
All good.
Yeah.
Mine's a little less exciting. I did take a trip last weekend to my alma mater to work a track camp up there. Actually, if you didn't know, I ran track in high school on top of everything else I was involved in. So I always say I ran track, but I didn't actually run. I just high jumped in college. So there was about 10 steps of running. There wasn't a full full track worth of running very often. But got to work a camp up there, and our campus actually surprisingly has a lot of charging stations on site. And there's actually one right outside of the athletic facility where we were working the camp. So on the
nice.
second day, actually, we were staying in a different spot that wasn't close to campus. And so when we drove into campus for the day, I plugged in my car for a few hours and was able to charge up while we were working the camp. So great opportunity for kind of, what do they call that? Opportunity charging.
Oh yeah.
Outside of normal fast charging or overnight charging. That's a great option for situations like that. So they've got those at not only the athletic facility, a couple of the academic buildings on campus, the hotel on campus there has one as well. So they've got a decent infrastructure for EV charging on ONU's campus. So that was one of the first times I got to utilize the one that isn't at the hotel. So that was cool to use.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's one thing that pleasantly surprises me about like college campuses. Like at
Hmm.
least here in Ohio, what I've noticed, the vast majority of them have pretty good charging infrastructure.
Yeah,
At least level two. I know some
right.
engineering colleges might have some like DC fast chargers, or like some of the more career schools might
Yeah,
have some, for testing reasons. But
right,
that's
right.
awesome.
Yeah, a lot of higher education. I think it's twofold, right? You can say, "Hey, our camp." It's good for marketing because you can be like, "Hey, our campus like has EV chargers. This is forward thinking. This is all this stuff." Whereas like higher education is usually kind of on the bleeding edge of that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, it's a good resource for teachers, for students, anybody that's driving an EV. It's a good just amenity for them to have as students and teachers and everybody parking on campus starts to electrify. So that's I highly encourage every college, high school, anywhere where people are spending a majority of the day start looking at charging. Like it's going to be way more necessary in the next 10 years than it has been in the past 10. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ah, that's cool. Well, I'm glad that it was a successful trip for you guys, and you did some. Did you do any high jumping yourself, or was it just
I didn't bring spikes and I didn't bring like stuff to high jump. I demonstrated some of the drills and stuff, but I didn't break out any jumps, unfortunately.
okay?
So yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
So this is not electric vehicle related, but just from my knowledge, when it comes to like high jumps, is it like where you have like that big pole and you like jump over? Is that
No,
high
that's a
jumping?
different event. That's a different event.
But so
Pole
okay, high
vault.
jumping.
Pole
Oh, pole
vault is
vault.
with the
Okay.
pole, obviously, because pole vault's in the
Okay.
name. But high jump is just your own body. Try to fling yourself over like a horizontal pole, so or horizontal bar.
Interesting.
So yeah,
Okay. Is it
yeah.
like how high is it?
It's as high as you can jump. It's just continues to go up. So
I'm not athletic.
I'll give you the rundown after we get off the show here. But
Yes.
basically competition goes with you have an opening height, so everybody usually starts at that. There's some you can skip heights and there's a lot of stuff like that, but generally people usually kind of start around the same height. Everybody jumps that. You get 3 attempts at every height. If you miss at all 3 attempts, then you're out. You don't move on to the next height. And then there's progressions where it'll slowly go up over time. So you get 3 attempts to the next bar, 3 attempts to the
Okay.
next bar, and you got three and three and three until you can't jump any higher. So a lot of thinking and kind of strategy goes into it because sometimes people come in later so their legs aren't tired when you get up to those higher heights, but then you're also gambling because what if you don't make one of those lower heights? You could just no height the entire meet and you don't even get on the board. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Wow.
But yeah.
That was a lot. That was a lot of information. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let's.
I'll give you the rundown after the show.
Please. Yeah. Yeah. You could probably tell that I was not the most. I can't even say the word athletic. Yeah, I was not the most athletic. Soccer. That was it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all good.
Cool.
Yeah, but
Cool.
anyway, getting into the bulk of the episode, you did a lot of the prep on this one, so you do want to kind of introduce what we're gonna talk about today?
Yes. So I hope you guys like my voice because I'll probably be the one talking the most on today's episode. But we are doing a year in review. This is going to be our last episode for 2023 as we get into the main part of the holiday season with family travel and everything. We thought that it would be fun to wrap 2023 up, going month by month, talking about news stories, some personal things, as well as living electric. So we're going to start in January.
Yeah, so we
um,
picked out kind of just our like high level news stories, and I think we threw in some living electric episodes too, right? Of some of the stuff we talked
yes,
about. So yeah,
yep, yeah, and promise this won't be like a 5 hour long episode.
yeah,
We
yeah,
we picked like one or two news stories.
right.
So, but anyway, so starting off in January 2023, do you remember where you were that month? I'm just kidding. We don't have to get into that. I feel like I'm recording a YouTube video. The two news stories that we want to talk about is Mercedes-Benz announced that they will be building charging hubs across the United States that totals 400 stations, totaling 2,500 DC fast chargers. And in fact, the first official one just went live last month in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
So which is super exciting to see.
Yeah, that's a cool site too, because don't they have 400 theoretically like 400 kilowatt fast charging on those, which is awesome. It looks like a really cool site. I'll have to get down there and check it out. I'll probably be in Atlanta sometime this year, so next year, I guess. We're at the end of 2023. Next year.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, I'm excited to see more of those roll out. I had a lot of discussions like internally at our company recently about how few car manufacturers are actually making huge investments in fast charging infrastructure. And it's literally like Tesla and Mercedes. Not many others are making like true big investments in EV charging. So excited to see more of those Mercedes-Benz hubs roll out, hopefully.
Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like even just having like, like a place to go relax, get food, like a charging hub, and get almost like that gas station experience, but with charging stations.
Yep.
It's not just like two chargers in the back of a, Walmart parking lot in the dark.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool functional site.
Definitely.
And then the other news stories was in January, NEVI planning state by state started rolling out. So we got more of an idea of what each state by state, grants were going to look like, where they were planning EV charging corridors and so forth. So the big picture of NEVI rollout, or sorry, NEVI, I don't, NEVI, oh my God, okay, NEVI rollout, jeez, was being painted out for us. So
definitely. Yeah, that was interesting. NEVI, yeah. Should have branded that when it came out. Yeah, that was interesting to see state by state who was actually committed to rolling out EV infrastructure, because we saw some, and fortunately Ohio was kind of first to release information and get RFPs out and all that stuff, which was awesome, just living in the state. And one of our later ones is one of the first sites is now open in Ohio. So unfortunately the same cannot be said but for some other states that are almost purposely delaying things, it feels like, to get fast charging infrastructure out, which just, I mean, it sucks for EV drivers, honestly, like not getting this funding out. So really eye-opening, I think, to see the kind of the state and government side of a lot of these EV funds.
For sure. Yeah. And just fun fact, back in January was when the state of Wyoming announced their anti-EV bill that they were trying to pass.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah, which fortunately it was supposed to be a joke and it didn't go anywhere. But that's one of those states that I think is still working through things. I haven't dove too much into that.
So hopefully, I mean, honestly, the success, I think, hopefully, of these first few sites will be eye-opening for some of these other states to say, hey, this is what a successful program looks like. Look how beneficial this is to the state. Like, you want these in your state, figure it out. So and they have funds for it. It's not like they're trying to raise taxes or get extra money or pass anything. Their money is there for them. They just got to put the plan together. So
exactly.
Rant over.
Yeah. Well, that's in the past.
It's only January.
Yeah, it's only January. Hopefully things have been better by now. So moving on to February, do you remember where you were on February 14th, Valentine's Day?
I know we usually go out to dinner, but we're total old couple. We're not that old and we act like an old couple. We don't go to dinner on Valentine's Day. We pick a day around Valentine's Day because the crowd is usually less.
Just so I remember these text messages.
So anyway, I can tell you we were not out to dinner on February 14th.
Well, piece of advice from Alex Sibila. So see, now all the restaurants are going to be busy around Valentine's Day.
Well, if we spread it out, then they're never busy. So
this is true. This is true. I remember where I was eating a bad vegan dinner.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was overpriced and it was not very good. But anyway, so February, Tesla started introducing the Magic Dock adapter at certain superchargers in the state of New York. It wasn't all superchargers. It was just a handful of them as they were beta testing. So I can't remember. Did you get a chance to go and test them?
Mm-mm. I've never been out to one.
Okay. So Tyler and I did. That's where I magic docked an adapter to another adapter.
Yes.
To our Tesla. So shocked the car didn't blow up at that point. But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it was pretty cool to see Tesla's rollout of the Magic Dock program, and now they're expanding. Like if you look at their map, they actually have a pretty decent handful of superchargers that have Magic
Oh,
Dock.
is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, one in Alabama just went live, which is pretty cool. A few in Canada, one in Alaska is live,
Really? Wow.
which is really cool. So they've really been expanding that.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to look real quick because they've opened a couple new ones in Ohio. Are there any new ones closer to us by chance?
Pittsburgh. There's one near Pittsburgh.
Okay. I think that
Yeah.
one in what's it called? It's in New York technically. The one you went to. It's in New York
Oh,
technically,
Fredonia?
right? Yeah. That's I think
Mm-hmm.
still the closest to us, but yeah, let me look real quick. I'm curious now. I got their map up.
Yeah. Well, just to summarize what Magic Dock is, it essentially allowed for non-Tesla electric vehicles to charge at Tesla superchargers.
Yes.
So that's a good foreshadow into some of the other topics we're going to talk about.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I see the Pittsburgh one now. So very cool. That's
I
still, I
think
think,
that might be the
I think
closest.
that's still 3 hours from Columbus ish.
Oh,
So
I think it's only like an hour and a half from here.
what?
Yeah.
Which Pittsburgh am I going to?
Yeah. I think there's only one Pittsburgh. Maybe there's only one.
Is it
Pittsburgh.
really?
I don't know. I'm not a geologist. That's a joke, guys. That's totally a joke.
From
Yeah,
my
I'm
house,
pretty
it's
sure.
3 hours. Pittsburgh is
To
3 hours away.
Pittsburgh?
Yes. We're not in Cleveland. We're in Columbus. It takes farther.
I
It
don't
takes
know.
longer to get there.
I'm still from Northeast Ohio.
If you went from Cleveland, it's 2 hours. 2 hours, 15 minutes. So
Depends how fast you drive.
if you drive 130 miles per hour, you can make it there in 90 minutes.
Yeah. You just got to try harder, Alex.
I guess. Yeah, I'm not driving fast enough, clearly.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I hope everybody's enjoying, me being the main co-host for today's show. I'll be here every week. Okay, and then the other news story for February, since we're still in the beginning of this year, is that the White House announced new standards for their Made in America network of chargers, and some of the requirements based around that. So, essentially, it was a lot of investment for manufacturing of charging hardware, making sure that a lot of the components were made here in the United States, and
Right.
essentially end of production was done in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that would entail using parts that were from North America, and really focusing on making charging stations reliable.
Yeah. And I think we saw your next point on here is that quickly led to a lot of people making factory announcements that hey, we're opening up a factory now in the US to meet these requirements. So
Yep.
I think the only downside of that is it's now delayed things, right? So all of these factories have to get up and running. A lot of these companies weren't meeting these requirements before. So I think it'll be good long term to have locally sourced chargers, but it's unfortunately delaying some things where there's very few options right now for low cost chargers that meet all these requirements. So that's I think the one of the unintended consequences of that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Especially like I think Tritium was one of the first in the nation to have their factory up and running in Tennessee. Meeting NEVI requirements.
Right.
And then, we're seeing new ones like Lincoln Electric in Cleveland, Ohio is making charging stations, which is pretty cool to see, they started off as a welding company, getting into EV charging. So, which is exciting, but yeah, it's exciting to see more industry pop up.
Right.
So moving on to March, I won't ask where you've been in that month. Once again, the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, rules changed again in March. If you have whiplash trying to follow this legislation, so do we. It's been really hard keeping up with it.
Yeah.
But essentially that really with that big change when it came to like battery requirements, where those were sourced and where they were manufactured, as well as like end of line manufacturing for vehicles. With that rule change, it essentially left only a handful of vehicles eligible for the tax credit, or any form of tax credit.
Yeah.
So at that time, I think it was like around 10, a little bit over 10 vehicles. So not a big amount.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunately, I think with a lot of these EV events and just talking to people that are looking at electric vehicles, it is very hard to stay up with that stuff. I think the best way is to, I think the government actually has a decent site where they keep pretty live track of who is eligible for how much on all these
Hmm.
credits. So that's usually what I point people to of don't depend on articles, don't depend on anything else, like go to the source for all this stuff. That's where you're going to see the most up-to-date information generally.
Definitely. Yeah. Fueleconomy.gov. They have a pretty good list
That's
of
right.
that.
Yep. Hmm.
Yep. And then for vehicle unveilings, the Kia EV9 was unveiled back in March. And
Yes.
fun fact, they started deliveries of those within the last 2 weeks. So
Is that right?
they,
Awesome.
Kia kept to their word that they were going to start deliveries near the end of this year. So
There you go.
congrats to all those new owners.
Nice.
Yes. Okay, moving on to April. Speaking about electric vehicle unveilings, the Ram 1500 REV or REV was unveiled with a massive 229 kilowatt hour battery pack. That was optional. Just keep that in mind. That could surpass a range of 500 miles, and I think it left the entire industry, for lack of better terms, shook with that with that big battery announcement. I'm in rare form tonight. This is really fun doing this. But like I just remember at the time of that announcement, everybody's like, "That's so unnecessary for such a
Right.
big battery pack."
Right.
So what are your thoughts on a big battery pack like that? We talked about it in an
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, I think to summarize, it's different with EVs because you're using a lot more resources to build the vehicle initially, right? So I understand the critique of large vehicles on the gas side or diesel side that these vehicles are big and massive and use a lot of fuel. It's bad kind of on the flip side with the vehicles like this with massive batteries that they're using all these resources up front. You could make 3 or 4 cars with the amount of batteries you're putting into that vehicle. So
Mhm.
sometimes I think EVs don't always make 100% sense if you really need that big of a battery and that big of a thing to go about your daily life, especially if you're not going to be utilizing it. I think that's the big theme is like, that's fine to get a vehicle that could do all these things, but are you actually going to utilize this or is this just a waste of resources? We heard that, I think, time and time again. This is a waste of resources building this vehicle. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents.
Yes. Yeah. I'm in the same boat, especially when you could build 2 or 3 vehicles with that one battery pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah. So essentially it got overshadowed with the announcement of the Ram Charger plug-in hybrid that Stellantis just announced a few months ago. So I haven't really seen many things about the electric Ram,
Yeah.
at least the battery electric Ram. I've seen a lot about the
Right.
Ram Charger. So
Right.
um, exciting things, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for talking about living electric for the month of April, we had 2 really big conversations for that month before we took a small little break.
Definitely. Yeah, we talked to David Hodge from Standard Fleet, and looks like they're continuing to do awesome stuff. They were one of the first uh, apps or I guess software platforms that have used the Tesla, like the official Tesla API, I believe, just to get logged into vehicles to track Tesla fleets, which has been awesome to see them grow and continue to do cool things. And then we also talked to Jeremy McCool from Hevo about wireless charging. So I think that really opened my eyes to the true possibility of
Hmm.
wireless charging. I was a bit of a skeptic ahead of that conversation, and I think Jeremy corrected a lot of things and kind of helped us understand it more. And just prepping for the episode, I think I learned a lot about wireless charging that I didn't in the past. So
Same.
those are some cool interviews.
Definitely. Yeah. The one with Jeremy, especially, broke I think a lot of connotations I had in my mind
Right,
regarding wireless charging.
right,
And, just recently, Detroit just announced a small road. I think it's a mile long for
yeah,
testing for
hmm,
wireless charging as you drive.
I saw that.
Florida just announced something today with wireless charging. And I saw an article. It's not wireless charging, but it's a road of solar panels that you can ride your bike on. I believe it was in Denmark or Norway. I have to look up the
Wow.
article, but
All right.
but essentially, it's kind of cool to see things that can power and charge and essentially in a road or, at your house. So, and
Yeah.
I think I saw too, Tesla just announced too, they're working on a wireless home charger product as well.
Wow.
So
All right.
yeah, yeah,
There you go.
lots of cool things. So definitely go back and check out those episodes. Those are good conversations.
Definitely.
Okay, so moving on to May, this was another one of those shook moments. I think for
Just
the
waiting for
inside,
it.
yeah, I'm just going for it. Yeah, this this is one thing that I think you and I both were like not expecting at all.
Yeah.
So in May, Ford announced on Twitter that they were going to have a conversation with Elon, and a lot of
Yeah.
people were just like, "What is this? What does it mean?"
Yeah.
And it was their announcement that they are going with the NACS, or North American Charging Standard, for their vehicles moving forward in 2024 through, on.
Right.
So, but that came as such a surprise to so many people in the industry.
Definitely.
Because for a while, I think it was about, well, when Tesla announced that in November 2022, it was essentially crickets
Yeah.
for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Completely surprised by that one. I think the industry, was hoping for it for a while, that
Mm-hmm.
some manufacturer is going to bite the bullet and switch over to NACS. Let's start consolidating this. Let's start streamlining this, all that good stuff. And Ford, it sounds like, at least my view, I think Ford really looked at the charging experience with their customers. And they were like, because this isn't just a plug switch, this is also adding supercharger network access. Like, this is,
Yes.
those two
Yep.
kind of go hand in hand here. And I think Ford took a big look at the public charging experience that their drivers had been undergoing, and they're like, this is not cutting it. We need to figure something out for our drivers. And I mean, good for Ford for kind of biting the bullet and working with a competitor to
Mm-hmm.
give their customers a better charging experience. Because I don't think a lot of these manufacturers would last too long if they're consistently getting just bad reviews about ownership with their vehicles. So the vehicles are great. The charging just needs to get a lot better. So I think Ford saw that, made that announcement, and as we'll see the next few months, others followed suit. So
Definitely. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think this is where we saw that snowball effect,
mm-hmm.
which good segue for June. I forgot where we were. June, General Motors announced that they were going NACS.
Yes.
That was another shocking moment, but I definitely think that it started laying out that path where we're going to start seeing more
Mm-hmm.
manufacturers adopting the standard.
Right.
So at least connector type at that time. It's
Yeah.
the standard now, but that's December. We're fast forwarding.
Right.
Yeah. So, with the announcement that GM was going to be utilizing that on their electric vehicles moving forward too, starting in 2024, was super exciting.
Right.
But I think it left a lot of questions though for Tesla owners with how that would work at superchargers,
Yeah.
especially since most of their charge ports are on the opposite side of where the
Mm-hmm.
Tesla is, and how that would block charging stalls and stuff like that.
Right.
I know at the time when we had our Tesla, it was a big question for us too.
Right.
Um, so, but all very exciting things.
Right.
Well, now July is where we saw a huge amount of announcements. This is when we got Polestar, Volvo, Rivian, Mercedes, and Nissan
Mm-hmm.
announcing that they were going NACS.
Right.
Just to take a quick pause, did you expect that we would see so many manufacturers in such a short time announcing that?
I think after the Ford and GM announcements, I was kind of expecting it, because a lot of these OEMs then are like, "Oh crap! Like we've got to figure something out too."
Yeah.
I'm sure those boardrooms and those CEOs and all those high level people, those companies were definitely kind of had a no crap moment when some of that was announced. So I don't think they necessarily took it as a thing we want to do, but a thing we have to do to stick with the rest of the industry here. So
Mhm.
they're like, if all these other networks and manufacturers are switching to this, we've got to stay with it, or else we're going to get left in the dust. So, and many of these manufacturers aren't making a ton of EVs right now. I mean, Rivian obviously is a full EV company, but you look at Volvo, Nissan, like they have one or two true EVs that they're making,
Mhm.
and they're realizing this is going to be very important to offer, or else you're going to be a lesser product almost. People are going to prioritize NACS vehicles, so that that caused them to move a lot quicker, I think, than maybe they wanted to
For sure.
with that decision.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing, a lot of vehicles now sitting on lots, is I think a lot of people are waiting for more guidance of how the
Yeah,
supercharger network's going to open.
right.
I know from conversations I've had, a lot of people are just waiting, waiting to
Really?
hear what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
definitely.
Yep. So moving on to August, you got married.
Yes, that was my electric living the electric life. It was an electric evening.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, that was the big personal news out of that month. So very exciting. We're still married, so marriage is going well.
Good.
But yeah, that was exciting. It's good celebrating with you and Tyler as well. Glad you both could make it and
Definitely
enjoy the day with us. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was one of our highlights of August.
that's good. Yeah. So
well, I had the opposite month. Besides celebrating with you guys, we had our electrical nightmare at our house, finding out that it was going to be well over 20 grand worth of electrical repairs to make our house safe. So that was fun times, but we learned a lot about electrical home systems. So
yeah,
learned
experience.
A lot. yes, just more than a college degree. In some instances, Jeez, it's terrifying to put that in that perspective. Anyways, so moving on to September, I was trying to find an EV news story for September, but I really couldn't find anything. Do you remember anything big that was announced in September?
September, I have to look. I can't recall anything, honestly, off the top of my head.
Because Tyler and I did our 2-week 6,500 mile national park road trip in our Tesla.
You were looking at no news during the time.
No news. Yeah, we were out in the wilderness in our Tesla. I mean, we did camp on a cow farm, so that was pretty cool. But that was our living electric 2-week moment. So, really fun. Got a chance to really explore, the infrastructures and just see how, the US is set up for EV charging. Ran into some challenges in New Mexico in terms of the how far apart charging stations were spaced out.
Yeah.
But we handled it with no issue. Our Tesla was amazing. Superchargers were amazing. So
definitely. Yeah.
Good times.
September was Drive Electric Week. So
I'm so selfish.
Could highlight that.
Right.
Yeah. But
yeah, you got a chance to go to one of the events.
Yes. Yeah, that was really cool. At Brewdog here in Columbus. So they were a great site host there. I think we did a recap episode on that. So go check out that episode if you want to hear more about it. I'll leave it at that.
Yes. Yeah. Man, we're flying through this year. Okay. So moving on to October, the big announcement is that the Treasury Department laid out rules for point of sale EV rebates that are going to go in effect January 2024. And essentially what dealerships need to do in order to be prepared for that. I think this is another holdout for a lot of buyers when it comes to buying an electric vehicle, is instead of waiting for that, the previous year to do your taxes to get the tax credit, you can essentially receive it upfront when you're purchasing the vehicle.
Exactly.
It's huge. I mean, that's thousands of dollars that you could see.
That's been talked about, I feel like, since that rebate came out, or that tax credit came out, is how do we make this a point of sale rebate? I think it makes it much easier for people to make an EV buying decision when that is money back in their pocket day one versus 6 months from now, or even more in some cases. So that's really exciting to see. I think that's good, but then my concern with that is the dealership model is just a little bit sketchy generally. So I'm hoping dealers that are selling EVs are being truthful about how this actually works, not taking advantage of people, not saying, oh yeah, this is like a free down payment and here's your rate and all this stuff. It's we'll accept anybody. It's this isn't just free money sometimes. This is this is still a tax rebate in some ways, and just needs to be fair, I guess, to buyers.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah. And just to play devil's advocate really fast, I've read that a lot of dealerships are concerned with how frequently they're going to get paid back from the government in terms of the money that they're, fronting
fair.
essentially to
Yeah,
customers.
definitely.
So because and we could put this in one of the sources, but or we can cite this source. A lot of dealerships were citing the Cash for Clunkers program
Mm,
do you remember that from
yep.
2009?
Yep.
I remember I was looking at a smart car because we were going to get rid of an 80s Buick Riata. I think it was an 89 Buick Riata for a smart car. But essentially a lot of dealerships are quoting that program because it
Mm,
kind of failed in the sense that the dealerships were working with the government, but the government wasn't paying them as frequently as they needed. So a
gotcha.
lot of dealerships lost money, or maybe it put them in a bad financial place. So they're
Mm,
I think a lot of dealerships are just hesitant with that.
I'm
So
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah. We'll see how that goes then, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. Only 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So yeah. But
But
then in October, you did your longest road trip ever so far.
yes,
So
that's right. That's
yeah,
right. I got a lot
so
of
far.
supercharger miles to use. So the yeah, we took a trip down to Nashville for a wedding. That was our furthest trip we had taken in my car, which was kind of hard to believe with all the driving we've done. We drive a decent amount, but a lot of them are shorter trips where it's one or two charging stops, and that one was a few. So that was good, honestly. I mean, I'd do the trip again if I had to drive down to Nashville. I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't try to book a flight or anything like that. So I think that's great. But
Nice,
yeah, got an
nice.
episode on that as well if you want to listen to
Yep,
it.
yep. And with all that free supercharger miles, maybe we could do a live tour or something like that.
Just live
What?
stream the entire
Just,
route.
no, like pick venues and stuff like
Oh,
that.
like
Maybe,
yeah,
yeah, maybe when we get bigger, we'll,
yeah.
yeah, subscribe. Um, so, well, cool. So, moving on to November. So ChargeWay 2.0 was unveiled at Electrify Expo in Austin on November 10th.
Yes.
It is our newest version of our app with lots of new features, including real-time station status. So I have not practiced saying that. That is all totally natural, not scripted. But definitely check it out. We're pretty proud of how it's being received. So pretty exciting
Definitely.
things. And then the one event that people have been waiting literal years for is the Cybertruck delivery event that was on the 28th of November. Was it the 28th or 29th? I think it was the 28th. I should have had that down. See, I
a quick
failed at planning.
Google. It was the 30th.
Oh, I was one day off.
So neat. So none of them.
So none of my guesses. But whether you like the Cybertruck or not, it's here. It's a product that I think is going to be a timeless automotive piece of design.
Yeah.
But I don't think the delivery event was satisfactory for a lot of people, just because they
Right.
unveiled so many details after the event.
Yeah.
Which we talked in an episode. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That was probably my biggest gripe with it was they had an opportunity to do a really good press event and talk about all the cool features and accessories and all this stuff, and they just basically handed keys to people. So it's like such a missed opportunity. But yeah, we've got an episode on that as well.
yes, definitely. Sorry, your camera, you froze, and I thought you were going to keep going. So,
Oh, you're good.
yeah. Okay, so now that we're actually in December, so
Where were you in December?
Where was I in December? Working at home because I don't go anywhere.
I thought you were going to be like, I was here.
Yeah, I was here. I was not at your house. Where were you in December?
I was in this chair for the most of it, to be honest.
Same, so. Honestly, same. I never move. We should probably change that for 2024. So the first Nevi site in the entire nation went live near Columbus, Ohio, in London, Ohio, at a pilot travel center. It's an EVgo station, but it's the first official funded Nevi site to go live in the entire country, which is super exciting. I mean, It's pretty cool to see Ohio can say that.
Yeah. Yeah, Ohio's putting itself on the map one way or another.
Yes.
It's been mostly good things this year, which is good. um,
maybe EV related.
yeah, EV
Yeah.
related for sure. Between
Yeah.
some things opening and
Yes.
um, we'll leave it at
Yeah.
that. And yeah, I'm excited to check that out actually over my Christmas travels because I'll be heading right past it. So I'm going to pull over and check out the site at least. I don't think we'll need to charge for much, but at least check it out, get some pictures. We finally got some canopies at charging
Yes.
sites, which is awesome.
Yes.
So that's a pretty cool site with the canopy. It kind of looks like a gas station in a good way with the lighting and the cover from rain and everything. So
Definitely. Yeah. Hopefully we start seeing more layouts like that. Site
for sure,
designs.
for sure.
I was going to say something. Oh, I was going to say, for all those people who bash on Ohio, we have more than corn now. So, come to Ohio. It's
We
a
have
pretty
two
cool
fast
state.
chargers.
Yes.
That's
it. With the covers, it's all good. And plus, Alex and I are here. It makes the whole thing. And then the last announcement, which was actually announced this a few days ago, is SAE finally announced the certification for the NACS standard. I'll just say it, even though this will be one of few times. They're calling it the J3400 standard. If you want to, let's just say red.
If you want to impress some people, whip that out at a party. Oh yeah, my car is equipped with the J3400 standard. What's yours equipped with? Oh my goodness,
Siri. No, go away. Jeez. I got to tell you, okay, this is not EV related, but what Apple did by getting rid of the Hey Siri thing, do not talk. Sorry, I'm talking on my phone. By just simply saying her name now is the worst thing ever.
Oh, so if anything sounds like it, it just instant triggers. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I've turned that completely off on my phone because I don't ever use it. I'm like, voice stuff still just isn't good enough for me. I'm like, I can type it in my phone quicker. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, I should probably do that too. But anyways,
when's the last time you realistically talked to your phone and like did something? Is it often?
I did it today
or?
when I was cooking. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the conversions between tablespoons and ounces, and yeah, she helped me make a salad. So
okay.
Yeah. So maybe that's what she wanted.
Was this necessary, or could you type this into Google?
What, just now, or when I was cooking?
When you were cooking.
Oh, my hands were dirty.
Okay,
I was cutting onions and stuff like that.
Fair enough. So. Yeah. You're just selling Apple right now. I love it.
Yes. Oh,
it's like
yeah.
Apple
Except
commercial.
She just tried to call somebody. Anyway, so the we were talking about whipping that out at the party. I'm sure people would be very impressed by that knowledge.
Yeah.
Just totally joking around tonight. I still think J3400 is still very confusing. Terminology is still very confusing, but we did an episode on that. But it's still cool to see that there was more technical details about this new standard that were unveiled. That should really help when it comes to charging installation costs as well as charging hardware manufacturing.
Right. Yeah.
Very exciting things.
Yeah, I think that really helps with making it, when it's an official standard, that means basically everybody can copy it. So they're not depending on Tesla to certify their charging cord or anything like that. Companies can just make it. So hopefully all of them can make it as slim and good looking as Tesla's, because I've seen some out there and I'm like, what did you just build? This looks like a Frankenstein NAS connector. Like, was it really that difficult to make this like that slim? So I don't know. I don't manufacture stuff, so I could be talking completely out of turn, but that's been my impression with some of them. But
yeah, I feel the same way, but I'm in the same boat. I'm a data guy. Can't build things. But well, that is 2023. Just to kind of preview the future for 2024. Some rumors that came out today is that Ford and GM might have possible access to the supercharger network starting in February of 2024. Yeah. So if that's true, that's exciting, and it's a lot closer than we thought it would be. But then again, this year has flown by. So
yeah, this year's been nuts. Yeah, so we went from I think the good thing about this year is we had a lot of announcements that people followed through on. That's
Yes.
been awesome to see. We're continuing to see progress in the EV industry. This industry has really grown too. I think we've moved past the point where it's just people throwing out prototypes left and right. We've got a lot of actual vehicles on the road that are compelling EVs. It's not just Tesla and like a couple others out there. It's a lot of manufacturers that are making investments in this. On the charging side, we're seeing more and more sites rolled out, more people investing into that side. So I think it's all maturing in a good way so far. And people have seen a lot of the problems, have recognized them, and are now starting to address them. So I mean, that's all you can ask for, really, out of out of
Yeah.
the industry and charging infrastructure and everything else is just continued progress. So
Yes. Definitely. So always good. I mean, I'm excited to see what 2024 has in store for us. Obviously, lots of NACS focused, I'm sure,
yeah,
announcements will
for
come.
sure.
Lots of unveilings for vehicles.
Yep,
Lots of exciting things.
definitely.
So, well, I do want to wrap up this episode and just, as always, leave it in the hands of the listeners. If there's any topics you would like for us to cover in 2024, let us know either via the comment section on YouTube, respond through Spotify, or email us. We're pretty excited, and yeah.
All right. We'll catch everybody next year.
No,
Talk to you then. Do you hate that joke?
I will say, just to wrap this up, what always trips me up, not the whole "we'll see you next year," it's the switching over from the previous year to the new year when you're typing
Fair.
or writing it
Fair.
out.
Yeah.
It gets me every time.
Yeah.
Takes me until at least March.
That's funny.
Anyways,
All right.
we'll see you guys next year.